I bought my dream house and invited my family for a housewarming. No one came. They all went to see my sister's new car instead. Then as I turned on the lights, my phone exploded with a call from my dad. "We need to talk now. My name is Evan. I'm 32, the oldest, the planner, the one who keeps spare phone chargers and an emergency fund that actually has money in it. I'm a project manager for a construction firm. Permits, schedules, budgets, the whole 9 yards. I like clean spreadsheets, labeled storage bins, and doors that actually shut properly on the first try. If you ask my family, I'm reliable and steady. If you ask me, I'm the invisible engine that keeps their chaos running." My sister Natalie is 28 and pure golden sunshine. She's spontaneous, creative, vision-driven, which means our parents applaud every half-baked dream she announces over Sunday dinner. When I got my driver's license, I worked double shifts at Target to buy a beat-up Honda Accord and learned to change brake pads on YouTube. When Natalie got hers, Dad said, "A young lady needs something dependable," and handed her keys to a brand new Subaru Outback with a red bow from the dealership. I learned early that applause wasn't coming my way. You do what needs doing and keep moving forward. Buying this house wasn't about getting recognition. It was about having doors that stayed closed when I wanted them closed. It was about not hearing Dad's war documentaries blasting through paper-thin apartment walls at midnight, not sharing a refrigerator with Natalie's Pinterest-inspired smoothie ingredients that always rotted before she remembered them. I saved for 5 years. Overtime shifts, 0 vacations, roommates who left dirty dishes like archaeological evidence, and a spreadsheet I named Brick by Brick Dreams. I said no to 1,000 small things so I could say yes to one big one. Last month, the yes finally happened. A charming Cape Cod with an apple tree in the backyard and a front porch the previous owners left, for someone who promises to actually use it. 3 bedrooms, hardwood floors that creaked stories, and a brick fireplace with hand-painted tiles featuring a slightly crooked blue whale. I ran my palm across the kitchen granite and felt like I'd found something that fit my soul. I sent a photo to our family group chat. Me holding keys, a sold sign behind me. Caption, "Housewarming this Saturday at 6. Barbecue, cornbread, bonfire if weather cooperates." I got 3 party emojis, a proud of you son, that felt copy-pasted, and from Natalie, a gif of champagne popping with Yas King. All week, I scrubbed baseboards and organized kitchen cabinets. I touched up wall paint and bought matching dinner plates for 8 people. I found a vintage rug at an estate sale and drove it home strapped to my Honda's roof, corners flapping like victory flags. Saturday arrived crisp and perfect. I strung cafe lights across the back deck and lit apple cinnamon candles that smelled like fall comfort. The barbecue sauce simmered. I put cornbread in the oven at 540. I loaded a cooler with ice, 3 types of soda, craft beer, and root beer because Dad likes pretending he's 12 when he's happy. At 6:03 I checked the driveway. Empty. At 6:15 I lit the candles anyway. At 6:22 I texted EDA. Mom replied soon. Red heart, Dad stayed silent. Then Natalie sent a photo that made my stomach drop. Her in designer sunglasses, standing beside something cherry red and gleaming on a car lot. Caption, "We did a thing. Automobile sparkles." At 6:38 my phone buzzed with a video from Mom. "Look at our girl," she squealed behind the camera. Natalie revved the engine of what looked like a BMW. Someone cheered. A salesman in a shiny tie clapped enthusiastically. The video ended with Natalie blowing a kiss at the lens. I stared at my phone screen. The cornbread timer beeped. I turned off the oven and watched steam escape like my evening's hopes. At 6:47 I flicked on my new living room lights for the first time, expecting that magical home feeling to wash over me. Instead, the room looked like a real estate staging photo. Clean, ready, completely empty of the people who mattered. My phone rang, Dad. I let it go 1 ring longer than I would have last year, then answered. "We need to talk," he said. No hello, no explanation about missing my housewarming. "Okay," I managed, staring at my front door where I'd hung a little wooden sign that said, "Welcome home," like some kind of cruel joke. "Now," he added with that tone he uses right before assigning me a project I never asked for. I stood there in my perfect kitchen, holding my phone and listening to Dad's expectant silence while my family celebrated my sister's latest impulse purchase at a dealership 40 minutes away. The barbecue sauce had stopped bubbling. The apple cinnamon candles flickered like they were apologizing. "I'm at my house," I said carefully, not adding finally, or alone, or where you were supposed to be. The porch swing creaked once in the evening breeze. My welcome home sign looked absurd, like a setup without a punchline. I hung up and placed my phone face down on the granite counter I'd dreamed about for 5 years. Somewhere across town, my sister was probably doing victory laps in a parking lot while everyone clapped and took photos. Meanwhile, I stood in my empty house listening to the refrigerator hum its lonely song. The first crack wasn't loud, it was lights turning on for an audience that chose a different show. I served myself barbecue and cornbread and ate standing over the kitchen sink. The food was perfect. The silence was deafening. The cafe lights twinkled cheerfully outside like they hadn't gotten the memo. I didn't cry. I didn't throw anything. I chewed slowly and stared at my doorway, feeling that familiar draft where I hadn't yet installed proper weather stripping. Then I washed my plate, dried it carefully, and set it face down on a clean towel like I was preparing for something I couldn't name yet. The apple tree rustled in the backyard. My phone stayed silent. And for the first time since putting in my offer, I wondered if buying this house had been the biggest mistake of my life, or the smartest thing I'd ever done. The answer would come in the morning, along with Dad's clipboard and a conversation that would change everything. Money in our house always wore a costume. It pretended to be love, responsibility, discipline, whatever fit the day's performance. When I was 15, Dad called it life lessons, and started charging me $120 monthly for room and board from my Best Buy paycheck. Teaches you how the real world works, he said, taking cash from my hand like I was paying a parking ticket. When I turned 17 and asked where that money actually went, Mom said, into the family. When I asked to see the receipts, Dad laughed like I'd told the world's funniest joke. By then I'd started keeping records. Digital notes with dates and amounts. I told myself it wasn't petty, it was a compass through fog where other people could pretend the path I'd walked was imaginary. Meanwhile, Natalie had mastered the art of arriving after every bill. She's fluent in I want. The phrases people used around her were always softer. Dreams. Vision. Potential. She tried one semester at community college, then dropped because her art professor was totally toxic and limiting my creativity. She launched a handmade soap business that folded when she discovered sales tax exists. She wanted to be a lifestyle influencer, so she needed a better camera, professional lighting, a dedicated content space, and a reliable car for brand collaborations. Guess who researched lighting equipment specs? Guess who moved furniture to create her dedicated space? Guess who drove her to a collaboration meeting that turned out to be some stranger's apartment that smelled like cat litter and broken dreams? When I finally pushed back, when I said no to adding her to my phone plan temporarily, no to co-signing her lease for just 6 months, the words weaponized against me. I became cold, transactional, selfish. Mom would sigh deeply and say, "Don't be a calculator with your family, Evan." Dad would cross his arms and deliver his favorite line, "A man provides for his family." That phrase covered everything from Natalie's credit card emergency, $347 for a weekend in Miami, to Dad's truck tires when payday got moved, $156 plus installation. It covered the homeowners association fee they'd ignored until it hit collections, $340 plus late fees plus threatening legal letters. There were smaller ones too. Netflix because we all use it. Fancy coffee pods because we deserve nice things. A replacement vacuum when theirs died because we can't live in filth. Always we when they were asking, always you when they were thanking. If I hesitated, Mom's voice would turn fragile. "After everything we've done for you," she'd whisper. "We fed you, housed you, raised you." Dad would stare out the window like I'd personally disappointed America. "We're not asking for the moon here. Just family support." Look, I'm not claiming sainthood. I'm a guy who likes knowing where money goes and having actual plans instead of wishful thinking. I helped because it was easier than fighting, and because sometimes helping feels like love even when the math doesn't add up. But the house changed everything. The house meant I was done renting pieces of my life to people who treated my bank account like a family credit card. The house meant having a deed with only my name on it. The house meant no one could use we to mean you without me having to smile and nod anymore. I told my parents I was house hunting. Mom immediately said, "Make sure there's a guest room so Natalie has somewhere to stay while she figures out her next chapter." Dad added, "Better have a decent garage, I need somewhere to store my woodworking equipment." Natalie chimed in with, "Your place is going to be amazing for content. That kitchen lighting will be perfect for my morning routine videos." When my offer got accepted, I brought over a bottle of champagne and plastic cups. "I did it," I announced. Mom hugged me then immediately said, "We should add Natalie to your address so her car insurance drops. Just temporarily." Dad smiled and declared, "Property is a family investment." Natalie snapped a selfie in my kitchen and posted, "Major life changes coming. Sparkle's house, Like my house was a backdrop in her personal reality show. I paid the down payment alone. I paid closing costs alone. I paid to replace the ancient water heater that the inspector called a ticking time bomb. I signed my name 37 times and once more for luck. When the title officer slid that folder across and called me homeowner, I felt a knot release in my chest that I'd been carrying since I was 15 and got my first family bill. That week, Mom texted, "We'll come Saturday to help you settle in and bless the house properly." She attached a list of things they'd bring: a plant, a rug, that landscape painting your father loves so much. Natalie wrote, "Can't wait to film a house tour for my followers." I texted back, "Housewarming at 6. Food and drinks provided." It only hit me later to wonder, are you coming to celebrate or to colonize? Saturday answered that question. No one came. They were at a BMW dealership watching Natalie test drive in circles while Dad probably bullied the finance manager about interest rates and Mom filmed the whole thing like a proud peacock. Everyone clapped for a car that started depreciating the second it left the lot. No one looked at the door I'd worked 5 years to open. When Dad called with that tone and said, "We need to talk now," I knew it wasn't about congratulations. It was about logistics. It was about viewing my house the way a hawk views a field mouse. Here's the truth. The cold barbecue on my plate didn't anger me by itself. It was the latest sentence in a story that looks different in every chapter but always ends with the same moral. Evan will figure it out. Evan will handle it. Evan will pay for it. A favor with my name attached. A plan where I'm the safety net. A family where love sounds like, "Just sign here." I didn't respond to Dad's "now." I texted back, "Tomorrow at 2 p.m. He replied, "Don't be dramatic." In my family's dictionary, dramatic means you didn't say yes fast enough. That night, I sat on my front porch swing and watched the apple tree sway in the darkness, dropping one perfect fruit onto my lawn like an offering. They arrived like a military operation 10 minutes early. Dad's F-150 in the driveway. Mom's Honda Pilot behind it. Natalie in her shiny red BMW with temporary plates stuck crooked in the rear window like a teenager's first apartment lease. I watched through the peephole. Natalie checked her makeup in the visor mirror. Mom pressed her lips together like a principal preparing to deliver bad news. Dad carried a clipboard. Of course he had a clipboard. I opened the door before they could ring. "Hey." Mom air kissed somewhere near my cheek. "We'll bless the house afterward," she announced. "After what?" I asked. Dad brushed past me into my living room like he'd been paying the mortgage. Natalie immediately started filming a quick pan for her Instagram story. "Look you guys, my brother's place." None of them removed their shoes. None of them commented on the hand-painted whale tiles. None of them noticed the apple tree. Dad slapped his clipboard onto my kitchen counter. "Let's cut to the chase," he said. "Which chase is that?" I asked, though I already knew. He flipped a page. I saw printouts, bullet points, highlighted sections. "You done homework?" First item. "Since your sister's insurance company is highway robbery, we're changing her registration to this address. She'll park here sometimes." "No," I said. He blinked. "Excuse me?" "No," I repeated. "No registration changes to my address unless that person actually lives here." Mom immediately went into helper mode. "She'll practically be here constantly," she soothed. "She needs a stable home base while she builds her brand." Natalie leaned against my counter, phone recording. "It's literally not a big deal," she said. "Everyone does this. It's basically a victimless crime." "It's not about crime," I said. "It's about my name being attached to things I didn't agree to." Dad sighed like he was showing patience with a stubborn toddler. "You're being inflexible." Next item, "We need to add me to your deed." "You are my dad," I said. "You don't need to be on my deed too." He ignored that completely. "For estate planning purposes. So things transfer cleanly if something happens to you." "If something happens to me," I said slowly, "my will is in my desk drawer upstairs. Witnessed and notarized. Nobody gets added to my deed." Mom's smile turned thin as paper. "We're trying to protect you, honey. You don't understand how complicated these things can get." "I read contracts for a living," I said. "I understand plenty." Natalie looked personally offended, like I'd refused to try her new favorite restaurant. "God, you're so selfish," she muttered. "We're literally family." Dad flipped to another page. "Fine. Then at minimum you can pull some equity out. Refinance and take maybe an $85,000 credit line. We'll help you manage it responsibly. Natalie needs startup capital for a retail space." There it was. The real reason they'd skipped my housewarming. The reason you went to look at cars yesterday, I said, was so you could come here today and tell me what you're planning to do with my house. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. The invasion had begun. Natalie threw up her hands like I'd accused her of murder. We were celebrating my success. It's called supporting family. You're being incredibly petty right now. Dad tapped his clipboard impatiently. This is strategic thinking, Evan. Your money sitting in walls is lazy capital. Unlock it. Natalie's boutique will generate returns. Natalie's boutique, I repeated. You mean like the soap business that lasted 3 weeks? The influencer career that never generated a single paying partnership? The brand you've renamed 4 times? Her face flushed red. You're being so negative. This is exactly why you don't get invited to family things. I invited you to my house yesterday, I said. You went to a car lot instead. Mom cut in with that special voice she uses when manipulation needs to sound like motherly wisdom. Evan, listen carefully. We raised you. We housed you. We fed you. Families reallocate resources to support whoever's in their growth season. You're established now. Your sister is launching. For maybe a year you carry more weight. Then she'll support you when you're ready to settle down and start your own family. Settle down? I stared at her. I just settled down. Right here. In this house. Dad leaned forward, elbows on my counter. Be a man, he said. Step up for your family. You taught me to be a man by charging me rent at 15, I said. I stepped up. I saved every penny. I did this completely on my own. This house is not a group project. The air shifted. That's the moment in our family dynamics where you're supposed to back down because dad's about to raise his voice or mom's about to cry. Natalie can sense that moment coming from 3 rooms away and wraps it around herself like armor. She pointed a manicured finger at me. You don't even use both spare bedrooms. I could move in temporarily. I could help with content creation, maybe pay you a little something. How much? I asked. She blinked. Why does that matter? Money is just energy. It flows where it needs to go. Dad slammed his palm on the clipboard. Enough negotiating. Here's what's happening. I'll call my lawyer. We'll get your deed restructured for protection. We'll refinance to free up working capital. We'll register Natalie's car here for the insurance discount. And you'll host Thanksgiving this year since you've got the space. No, I said calmly. No to all of it. Mom's eyes filled with tears, real ones but also practiced ones. Why are you punishing us? She whispered. This isn't punishment, I said, feeling something click into place like a seatbelt. This is boundaries. Dad scoffed. Boundaries from what? From being the family ATM. From a role I never applied for. From Evan will handle it, being the solution to every problem you create. Natalie's voice went sharp as glass. You're so lucky. You got a house handed to you. Some of us actually need help building our futures. I needed help too, I said quietly. I just gave it to myself. Dad pointed at me like a coach benching a star player. Listen carefully, son. You don't slam doors on blood. I'm not slamming doors, I said. I'm locking what I paid for. His face went quiet angry, which means he was rewriting me in his head from son to problem. If you do this, he said slowly, don't come crying when you're sitting alone in this house with nobody who cares. Mom added, and don't expect us to show up when you finally need something. I stared at a lemon from my neighbor's tree sitting on my counter. She'd given it to me yesterday with a smile and, welcome to the neighborhood. I wanted to hand it to them as a parting gift. I didn't. Natalie made a show of checking her Apple Watch. I have content to create anyway. Are we done with this tantrum? We're done, I said. New house rules. No registering anything here unless you live here. No spare keys given out. No one gets added to my deed. No loans against my equity. If grandma needs medicine, I'll help her directly. Otherwise, my house is not the family bank or storage unit. If you want to store dad's woodworking stuff here, bring cash for a proper shed and we'll sign a rental agreement. Dad laughed, a harsh sound like breaking glass. A rental agreement? With your own father? Yep, I said. With receipts. Mom whispered, you've changed, Evan? I've moved, I said. They left with the kind of door slam that speaks louder than words. Natalie revved her BMW like the engine could drown out my porch lights. I watched those red taillights disappear into the evening. My heartbeat was hammering in my ears. Then I walked inside and wrote my new rules on an index card, taping it inside my pantry door. Not for them. For me. People think standing up is the hard part. It's not. The hard part is the next month when your phone becomes a weapon and you have to decide not to run toward the explosion just because you're used to the heat. Within 2 hours, our family group chat caught fire. Mom, your behavior today was unacceptable. Dad, ungrateful. Natalie, a screenshot of DMV address change forms with the caption, "My brother is literally sabotaging my future face with steam from nose." I muted the chat. I turned off notifications. I made Grandma and my work buddy Jake the only contacts who could reach me after hours. Then, quietly, without making speeches to anyone, I did the boring work of protection. I changed my smart lock codes. I installed a locking mailbox so no one could helpfully collect my bank statements. I called my insurance agent and set up password protection for any policy changes. I froze my credit reports because I know Dad's definition of emergency. I put alerts on my property records so I'd know if anyone tried filing paperwork with my address. I called the BMW dealership Natalie had posted about. The sales kid said, "Oh yeah, someone mentioned using a family property for insurance purposes. We haven't processed it yet." I emailed them to make sure they never would. A week after my failed housewarming, I hosted another one. 8 people from work, 3 from my weekend basketball group, my neighbor who'd given me the lemon. Same barbecue, same cornbread. We sat on my squeaky porch swing sharing stories about terrible first apartments and construction site disasters. At 8:15 my phone buzzed face down on the counter. I never turned it over. Someone said, "This place feels like you, man." I went to bed with dishes in my sink and my phone on silent, waking to sunlight through apple leaves and something that felt like peace. My locking mailbox gives me a daily reminder. This is yours. This is yours. This is yours.